So good morning everyone, and thank you so much for joining us in this talk. My name is Jimena Lujan. I know some of you. And I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a holistic coach, and also I'm a trauma prevention therapist, as well as a workshop facilitator. And I've been working the last 11 years helping people, individuals and groups through their transformational journey, mainly giving them tools and resources for them to find balance or to nurture their spiritual life, as well as their mind and their soul. And most of my studies have been focused mainly on spirituality, metaphysics, and philosophy. And throughout the years, I realized that the three of them are pretty much the same. The three fields are focused into looking for the answer for deeper questions and deeper meaning in life. What is this about? What is the whole purpose of existence? And who is God? If there's a God. And as far as I can remember, when I was little, I remember going to sleep and asking my mother, if God created the universe, then who created God? And then you can go so deep into those questions and never find the answer, And as a child, you become so curious, and but still you never find the answer anyway. So I feel that since that age, I got very curious about spirituality and metaphysics. And metaphysics being beyond the physics, into looking for what's beyond the physical, what's beyond of what I can touch and see, and what is more subtle. And what I noticed with spirituality is that it's very hard to define. It's impossible to have one definition because it's a very broad subject, and also it's a subject that is being spoken about since the beginning of existence, as far as we know. Like if you go back to different cultures and religions and civilizations and tribes, they all have someone who was either talking about it or searching about it or teaching about it. They are the poets, the writers, the healers, the shamans, always looking into what spirituality was for them. And in recent times, spirituality has been confused with religion or with a movement or a cult or a dogma. And even though we don't have specific definitions for spirituality, at least we know that it's not any of that. It has nothing related to religion, it has nothing related to a structure or to a specific rule or a specific God, if you were to put it that way. So I will talk about spirituality from my experience and from my perspective, and what I have learned through the years in my own work. And coming from my line of work, I would say that if we were to understand that we are multi-dimensional beings, that we have a physical dimension, we have an emotional dimension, we have a mental dimension, we also have a spiritual dimension. And whether you are aware of all of them or not, that doesn't mean they are not there. And most of us are very connected towards physical dimension. And you can tell that you might live your whole life connected to physical dimension without being connected at all to your emotions. And that doesn't mean your emotions are not there, they're there, you're just not aware of them. And it's the same with the spirituality. It's a part of you is there, you just might not be as aware as you are from your body. The idea with spirituality, in my perception, is to find balance between the four dimensions, to be able to find the harmony and good communication between your body, your emotions, your mind, and your soul. How you're going to find that balance is going to be up to you, what works for you, because I don't believe there's like one size that fits all. I think we all have to look for what works for us, coming from different backgrounds, different language, different experience, different circumstances, and see what is the one that has the most effect, positive effect in you. So if I ask you how spirituality feels like, or how is to have a spiritual experience, it's the same if I ask you how does it feel to fall in love if I never have fallen in love. It's like you can try to explain it in words, you can try to tell me how it felt and what you felt and what you thought, but at the end of the day, I have to feel it myself. I have to experience falling in love to understand what you're going through. So it's the same with spirituality. I feel like all of us have to experience it, and then you can try as much to put it in a metaphor or in a description or give adjectives, but at the end, you have to live through it. And in my perception, spirituality is finding a connection with a bigger force in which you can find peace inside and outside. You can find harmony within your dimensions and everything that is around you. And you can find a balance in that existence so that you don't have too much of one or the other. And you can also say that spirituality is the practice of knowing yourself better, in that constant practice of self-discovery, understanding who are you, what's your passion, what's your essence, who you are, what's in your heart, what's in your center. And we are living in a world or in a time in which we are so overloaded and overstimulated by information, by videos, by sounds, by social media, that computer programs know more about us than ourselves. It gotten to that point. So what are you doing to know yourself without being influenced from the outside? What are you trying to do on your daily practice that can bring you back to yourself without being so stimulated from the outside world and losing that center? So different practices could be like yoga, meditation, breathing, concentration, chanting, praying. It doesn't matter which is the practice you're going to choose. Yet, if you come to yoga class for 1 hour and you stretch and you do all those things, that still doesn't mean you're spiritual. You can do 1 hour, but still that doesn't mean you were able to connect within that hour to yourself and to a higher force and to enter a state of connection with everyone in the room and with your teacher and with your breath. You might just be still in that division and that duality. And then maybe you can have someone that doesn't practice yoga at all, doesn't breathe properly maybe, but they're way more spiritual than you. So that's also part of understanding that it doesn't matter what's the practice. Maybe you're so lucky that you can enter a state of inner peace on demand, or maybe you need to practice it. But the reality is that we're living in a world that we are in the street, we are walking in chaos, we are full of traffic, we are full of pollution, we're not getting, the best living conditions. But if you are choosing to live your life consciously, you're making these conscious choices. You're trying to find that connection with everything that is around you, regardless of that noise and those circumstances, then yet you can be a spiritual person. And I keep saying practice because I believe that it's something you have to repeat and repeat and repeat and get better and better and better every time. And sometimes you might feel you advance and sometimes you might feel you went backwards because things happen, but you continue practicing all the time. The same as you will do with anything else in all your other dimensions. You practice physical activity and you only get better and better, and maybe you practice emotional intelligence and you do exercises on your emotions, but you try to get better and better and better. So I feel that spirituality is also working into becoming a better person every time, and you continue in that path. The question is sometimes if we are all spiritual beings, because a lot of times people ask me in class, well, no, everyone is spiritual, Jimena. And I feel that we are spiritual. It's just that we're not aware of that part of us. But I do believe we were all spiritual at some point of our lives. If you were a child at some point, you were spiritual, for sure. And I think we all were children at some point. So when we are children, we are creative, we are living in the present, we are not paying attention to a concept of reality that is so close. We are completely open to whatever is happening around us. We're not worried about the past, we're not worried about the future. We're usually in the present moment. And also, we are very creative, as I said. When we are painting, when we are drawing, when we are dancing, when we are making up stories, when we're doing those creative practices when we're children, we are in a state of flow. We have no structure, we have no rules. We are basically channeling that cosmic energy through us. So if you were a child, that means you were creative. And you were creative, that means you were the creator. And to understand that you are the creator of what's around you is the ultimate power in life. To remind yourself all the time that you are the creator of this, and you find that even second of connection to that creation, you are in a state of spirituality. You are having a spiritual experience in that moment. So if it's not practicing the typical methods that we know now, like yoga, meditation, breathing, then create something. Allow yourself to enter that state of flow. We can start going back to that moment in where we were drawing without technique. We were painting with the fingers. We were dancing without thinking these are the steps and I'm counting, but you're actually flowing. That is helping you enter a state of oneness with everything that is around you. If you're walking in the street and you are able to walk in the boulevard of Tirana with all the traffic and the chaos and the honking, but you are connected to that moment, you are present, you're looking at the trees, you're breathing, you're looking at the stray dogs, and you feel in a state of connection, you are having a spiritual experience. We tend to believe that someone that is spiritual has to be in a robe and it has to be in some monastery in the mountains of the Himalayas or something, but that's not the truth of the real world. Doesn't look that way. We are living in cities, we are working in maybe a 9-to-5 job, we have families, we have children, we have to pay the bills, we have to argue with the neighbor, we have to drive, we have to go through all these different situations that make me have a mundane life, but yet how do I choose to live this mundane life is what's gonna define if I'm gonna have a spiritual experience or not. If I'm gonna live that life with a conscious state, then I am in a wider state of awareness, if that makes sense. So at the end of the day, having a spiritual practice is anything that puts my ego aside and I can go beyond that. If I can separate my ego from anything that I'm doing and I enter a state of wholeness or oneness away from any division, then I'm already practicing spirituality. If I can expand my awareness, I'm already practicing spirituality. I invite you to try any of these practices. They don't need to be difficult. They could be just breathing, but they can also be through love. And we understand love as, oh, love is two people in love or the mother to the child. But in spirituality, we're also trying to connect to a state of unconditional love, meaning I am able to love everything and everyone without conditions. That's also a way to practice spirituality. If I can feel love for someone in the street, if I can feel love for my friend who won the lottery and genuinely feel happy for them, I am in a state of spirituality because I'm disconnecting from my ego and understanding that both of us are the same going through this experience. It gets difficult, of course, because we are living again in a world where we are constantly reminded that, oh, well, there is division, but you're still practicing. And that is the point. You need to commit to a practice. And that practice, again, is going to be of your choice. It doesn't have to be my practice. It can be your practice. It can be the one that works for you. And it's going to come from a place of non-judgment, because we have a lot of this misunderstanding that if I don't eat something, if I'm vegan, if I'm vegetarian, if I am this, if I am that, that makes me spiritual. But if I am judging and I'm not loving, then that's no spirituality then, because you are losing your connection with everything. So, because I think spirituality is an experience, and there are different ways to experience this, let's try something. Maybe instead of just listening to concepts. So I thought that maybe we can start with something like connecting to the present. So what I will ask you to do is, for a moment, just as you're sitting down, just close your eyes. And as you are sitting down with the eyes closed, relax your body. With every exhale, just feel more open, accepting what is happening now without resisting, and just surrendering to what we're doing. And as you're sitting down, I want to ask you to start paying attention to the sense of hearing, starting with the sound of my voice, and see which other sounds you can pick around the space. And maybe notice what's the sound that is the closest to you, and what is the sound that is the farthest. And don't try to make a story into those sounds. Just become aware of them, accepting what is. And we begin to shift the attention to the sense of smell. And as you breathe, see if you can pick on any smell around you. Allowing your mouth to be soft, we're going to roll the tongue in front of your teeth, and we try to swallow. And see if you can pick on a taste. Maybe you were drinking coffee. See what you can pick. And whatever your hands are, send your awareness to the sense of touch and feel. Feel what your hands are touching. What is the texture? What is the temperature? And very gradually start to connect to the sense of sight, and keeping your eyelids closed, connect to your inner vision first. What do you see? Maybe you see some light or some colors, or shapes, or stars, or just blank. Don't engage, don't make up a story, just watch that inner screen. And from that inner vision, we shift it to the outer vision very slowly. As slow as you can, just start to gradually open your eyes. And as you open them, begin to pay attention to everything that is on the space. Starting to whatever is in front of you. And then move your gaze around to everything in the space. Maybe you've never been in the space, maybe you're not familiar with the room. And go around and pay attention to all the colors and the shapes and the textures or the patterns. Be so connected to the space that you are fully present. Very good. Nice. And then from here, we try to connect to more subtle energies. So we can bring the hands together and we start to rub the palms really fast. And we create some heat between our palms, or what we will call in the yoga practice some prana, chi, ki, different names, same thing. Just connecting to the life force, the energy that makes things be alive. And then from there, we're just gonna start to make like a little cup with our hands. Fingers completely relaxed, no tension. And we try to see if we can still feel the heat in between our hands or any sensation there. As we try to shift more and more of our awareness away from the mind and send it more towards the energy in the hands. And we keep the hands like a little cup, like you're holding a bowl. And we begin very slowly just to imagine that the ball is more like a balloon that inflates a little bit and deflates. And we try to just, with no expectations, you might feel something, you might not feel. Accepting what is the state of spirituality, with no judgment. And then from there, we're gonna keep one hand steady and the other one just start to rotate as if you're drawing like a spiral. And see if you can feel that spiral in your opposite hand. And maybe there is some sensation. Maybe there's nothing, it's okay. Very nice. And then we come back again into the little cup and we just make it a little bit bigger, as if the balloon is just inflating, 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 and then we try to squeeze that ball again. And see if there is some resistance. Maybe there's like an energy there in between that is creating some resistance. Very good. Nice. Okay. We leave one hand in that little cup, and with the other one we use the index finger And we start to draw again a spiral above. And see if you can feel something in your palm. You have to be very, very subtle as you are doing this. And then lastly, let's imagine that we are pulling like a thread out of our palm without touching. And we just imagine that we're just pulling something. And see if there is some sort of sensation as you do so. Any of you feel something in the hands? You do? Very good. Excellent. Bring the palms together again and just start to rub them. And then we just rub the wrist this way and the other wrist. Very good. And we try just one last time. We make the little ball here, hands relaxed like a little cup, like you're holding a ball. Relax the shoulders. All awareness goes from the mind into the hands. And we start to just make the ball a little bigger and a little smaller. And see if this time around feels more organic. The energy might flow more. The more permission you give your energy and you send the mind to the back. And if you're already feeling something between your hands, you can just rotate the hands a tiny bit, and that might give you more sensation. Yeah, very good. And this is a practice, meaning you practice, 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 and the more you do, the more you start to feel the energy in your hands. The more you connect to that spiritual dimension, what is subtle about you, that energy within you. Simple things that can take your awareness away from your physical dimension, more towards that spiritual dimension. Very good. Nice. You can release your hands down. And ultimately, what I feel is that we should be able to experience all of these dimensions depending on what our needs are. We cannot be just too physical and just worry about material stuff, but we cannot be too spiritual neither. Because you still have to pay bills, and you still have to pay the rent, and you still have to find food, and you still have to go to a birthday party. And the idea is to find the balance between all of these aspects and be able to live the life that you decide to live without judgment. So a spiritual person can be drinking a glass of wine, you know, and a spiritual person can be partying, and a spiritual person can be, you know, having arguments with their husband. Still, it's trying to make the most conscious actions or decisions in their capacity, because we are all in different stages of our journey, right? So at the end of the day, my perspective in this and the way that I teach my classes and my trainings is that whatever your experience is with all of these dimensions, you have to find a way to bring all of it, that spirituality and that material world, or everything that's in the in the ground that we can touch, bring those into your center, into your heart, into your essence. That is the fastest way to find your inner peace. It's not just too much spirituality, too much, achievements and money and goals, but find that in your center and you go back to who you are. And who you are is infinite, is limitless, is ever expanding, is unconditional love, and you just have to constantly remind yourself of that. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a Friday in summer, in the very early morning, so thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that I get to see you more often, either to practice yoga or to, or for a glass of wine. It doesn't matter. Yeah, as long as you are connecting, right, you're having a good time. So thank you very much.
Thank you.